All right, welcome back, everybody. Today we are chatting about VeChain, ticker VET. In my opinion, one of the most practical use cases out there for any project. Obviously, if you hold this, you've probably seen some consolidation recently, but I think we're on the verge of a major breakout. So I want to talk chart patterns, price predictions, and then we'll talk a little bit about bullish news tidbits in Q4 coming up for VeChain. So let's dive right in. First thing I want to note here is obviously we've been consolidating for quite a bit of time. So basically since late May all the way until now, we've been playing within kind of this key 15-cent level and this other key support of about five and a half cents. And the first thing I want to notice here, and we start a lot of videos off like this, but we did see a cup and handle form here pretty nicely that consolidated from early June to late August, so almost 3 months. Want to point that out there. The other thing we can make a case for here just recently is a bullish rectangle. So a lot of the times we'll see this over a large consolidation period, and you can see here, the prices play nicely within that rectangle for that long period consolidation, and more often than not, that leads to eventually a breakout to the upside. But with that said, I kind of want to talk about what we can expect here in the next couple weeks. So obviously, VeChain's probably been underperforming, against some of your other holdings in your crypto portfolio. But it doesn't mean that I don't think we're going to make that up here in the next couple weeks, especially backed by the Bitcoin run going on, especially today. So a couple things I want to touch on. We came out of this, we broke out of this beautiful falling wedge, that started in September and actually ended basically a full month. We broke out of that and then we found that kind of same resistance level here at 12.5, about 12 and a half cents. But what I want to highlight is this fractal right here is looking really similar to this fractal. And why that's important is because it can give us an indication of where we might be headed in terms of a logical price prediction. Because right now, we're scraping a very, very key resistance level, and then also that resistance level matches up with the bullish continuation pattern following the all-time high that we just had before. So if we look over here at this fractal, we're going to notice that from this low of about about 1.5 cents up to about 6 cents, this was between a 2 and 3x. Excuse the drawing, 2 and 3x here. And after that, we saw, somewhat of a regression to find another support. And then we went 7.5x, almost 7.5x up here. And why that's important to note is that we're actually seeing this play out pretty similarly on the other side here in this fractal that we've seen most recently. So for example, from, 5.5 cents up to this recent high that we had of 15.5 cents. That's also between a 2 and 3x, just like we saw in the previous fractal back here. And so, it's not out of this world to think that we might be 7 or 8x, above of this new resistance line. And kind of what's supporting this is that, we saw the exact same type of falling wedge off of that 2.5x. We came down and regressed and then came back up for that 7 to 8x. And if you look closely, you'll see that the top of this last 2 to 3x fractal actually became our new hard support level. So during this whole consolidation period of a few months, we never dropped below that previous fractal high of about 5.5 cents. So that's really, really important. That kind of plays into our theory of the fractal replaying again. So now that we kind of understand, where we're at and kind of what's been going on, what the chart looks like, let's get into a couple of price predictions and pull out the fib retracement here. So as you can see, in the last couple of days, more than that, last couple of weeks or so, we've been battling this resistance right here. This has really been key. As you can see, we luckily established a new support. So we went from this solid support of about 5.5 cents all the way up to a new support of almost just over 8 cents. So that's great to see. We want to see ourselves establishing higher highs and higher lows. now that we have that new support, we have to come back to the upside and beat our last all-time high, or sorry, not last all-time high, but our most recent high. And that was, just around 15.5 cents. But what's going to be key here right now, and what you need to be watching with VeChain, is our ability to close a daily candle above this critical 12.5 cent level. Okay, I mean, if we break this, that's when things really start to get interesting. If we close a daily candle, maybe a couple dailies above that, that's when it gets interesting, because then we're going to play between 12.5 and 15.5 cents. And then things really open up once we break this previous resistance at about 15.5 cents. And if we play off of our previous fractal and just say, okay, if we 7 to 8x here, and we're going to replay the fractal, assuming that we're right about here in this fractal, going from our low, if we 7 to 8x from this low, take 7 to 8x from this low, we're looking at somewhere between 55 and 75 cents for the end of the bull cycle. I think there's a good chance we even go higher than that. We're going to cover a little bit of news that I think might push that higher, and especially if Bitcoin ends up doing better than we expected. But I think a good conservative estimate for VeChain at the end of this cycle would probably be, somewhere between 60 and 75 cents. Now, obviously, this is based on what we've done previously. I think, on the lowest end, 50 cents, highest end, $1.20, but I would need to go right for that to happen. But that's what I'm seeing in terms of the chart pattern, in terms of where we're headed for VeChain. Keep your head up. We've been consolidating. If you've been patient and accumulating across this whole time, I do think you're eventually going to get rewarded with a breakout here in the next couple weeks. Obviously you can see, basically, if we zoom in, this resistance level has just been, killer for us. We really need to break this. And after that, things will get interesting. So keep an eye out on that 12.5 cent level for all of you VeChain holders. And let's get into some news now that we've talked about where we might be headed. So the first piece of news I want to cover here in Q4 is that they're expected to announce a huge partnership with one of the biggest logistics companies in the world. And right now it's been speculative. If you follow them on Twitter, they've kind of been teasing it over the last couple weeks. Obviously a lot of these comments are saying, hey, who's it going to be? UPS, FedEx, no one really knows quite yet. But the announcement is expected to come in Q4, so that could definitely help us pump as well. And the other thing I want to touch on just about what makes a project successful in general is, do they have a solid C-level team? Are they out there? Are they, giving speeches? Are they bringing people into, the mindset of what they're trying to do? And that's exactly what VeChain has been doing, over the last year. So recently their CMO spoke at a digital transformation conference, thousands of people in the audience. It's broadcasted live online. And they're just giving, a window into what they're working on. And this is huge in terms of getting more exposure to a project. And you love to see kind of their organization and strategy around getting the word out about VeChain. So just wanted to touch on that. And the last piece of news that I think is important to highlight is that they've been working really, really hard to get a NFT ecosystem up and running. So this is expected to kind of be fully flushed out sometime between Q4 and the end of Q1. But they've been working really, really hard. I've been following them, and they're constantly posting about this. They're excited about this. And, a lot of people are also excited about these developments. But I think that, this brings just a whole nother level of utility to the VeChain blockchain, and also adds to their value as a project. That's all I have today for you guys. Thank you so much for sticking to the end. Drop a like if you found anything valuable, and let me know in the comments what projects you want me to be covering. I've been kind of going off the basis of what looks like is most critical. So sometimes you've seen me cover VRA twice in a week or MTV twice in a week, just because I believe that it's critical on the timeline. But let me know what projects you want to cover in the comments, and I'll be sure to hit those up. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video.